Goeienaand. Good evening. Hello Kino. Welcome. Hello Sean. Goeienaand. Kijk, wie is hier zo? Gav, good evening. Dion, how's it? Frank, Annie RC, Haida, hello everybody. Hello Gav. Do you have any questions for me, folks? It is Tuesday evening, 6 to 7. We're going to play a bit of Q&A and see if I can answer some of your questions with regards to insurance and planning and so forth and so forth. Good evening, Michael, Makumalo. Afternoon. Sean, thank you very much for kicking us off this afternoon. Okay, afternoon. I have a 5, 10 and 15 year plan. Will you be able to do a future calculation for me, please? Sean, yes. I don't think while we're doing a live, that will be kind of difficult to try and concentrate on answering questions as well as doing calculations. But yes, I'm sure I can. And it's all going to depend on whether you're going to be able to send me all the information that I need, or if I'm going to have to get the information myself. And if I need to get the information myself, then I need to do what they call a letter of consent with you, draw the information from the companies, and then I can do the projections. So Sean, in my profile is my WhatsApp number and my website. You're welcome to contact me via one of those two avenues, and then you can send me the information. I'll see what I can do for you, sir. Like I say, unfortunately, I don't think it's going to be possible for me to do it while we are busy here. Share what? Oh, those are all the wonderful things that you can do with TikTok that I'm not sure about yet. But in any case, so Sean, yeah, send me a personal message on my WhatsApp number, and then let's see what we can do from there. And Guff says, does endowment still have a place over unit trust? Yes, Guff. I believe that it has. It has a very big place over unit trust because, number one, on a unit trust, if you have enough capital growth in the unit trust, then you're going to end up with a capital gains event at some point in the future. And what that basically means is if you invest your money in unit trust, at some point in the future, you're going to withdraw the money. And then they look at the amount of money that you've invested into your unit trust, and they look at the value of the unit trust. And the difference between the two is your capital gain. And they pay all of that out to you. But on that capital gain, there's then a capital gains tax implication. So you have to then make sure that you sort out that capital gains tax with the receiver of revenue. Now, a lot of people don't want to do this. They don't want to sit with a situation that, let's say, they end up with 500,000 Rand capital gain, and now they do the calculation, and then they have to go and pay the receiver, let's call it 100,000 Rand capital gains tax. They would rather just receive their growth without having to do any tax payments. So that's where the endowment is the better option, because on an endowment, the tax happens within the portfolio, in the fund. And therefore, whenever you withdraw those proceeds from your endowment, it's after tax money. So that's the first thing. It's the capital gains tax impact, having to pay it in your personal capacity versus it's getting taxed within your fund, and you then don't have to worry about it. That's number one. The second thing is with regards to the amount of tax. If you are in endowment, the tax that is tax bracket, or the tax rate that's used within the fund, is 30% based on company tax. While if you are doing unit trust, then the capital gains tax implication is in line with your personal tax. So therefore, if you are on a 31% or higher tax bracket, and you have this massive capital growth, you would actually have been doing better in the endowment, where there's a lower tax rate within the endowment than what you are going to do on the unit trust. So just from those 2 points of view, is both from a tax perspective, but on both those tax perspectives, the endowment has a place over the unit trust. And the other thing is, and it's maybe a lesser thing, people tend to withdraw less or are more cautious to withdraw from an endowment than from a unit trust, because unit trust is almost seen like a bank savings account that just got a bit of a delay on withdrawing. While on an endowment, it's normally tied to a time period, and people see it as more of a commitment in an endowment. So I hope that makes sense to you, but that's basically the three things. I personally am a big fan of endowments, and I'd rather do endowments for clients whose tax bracket is 30% or higher than what I would do a unit trust for them. The nice thing is, in endowment, you can make use of all unit trust funds and portfolios. So you have the choice as to which investment portfolio you want to make use of there. Okay, Guff, I hope that answers something for you. Let's see if there's anybody else that's got something they want to ask. Kunai, as a small business owner and a provisional taxpayer, why do I have to pay SARS 3 times a year? RC, I don't know, mate. So here's the thing with regards to taxes. I'm not a tax expert, okay? I understand the benefit of taxes on the various investments, on retirement annuities, on endowments, on unit trusts, LISP, life investments, etc. So I can calculate for a client which tax product or which product is going to be most tax efficient for them. But when it comes to actual taxes, when you are talking about personal tax, company tax, and so forth, then you have to speak to an accountant. Those oaks are the experts on tax, and they'll be able to answer that for you. So sorry, RC, can't give you that answer, mate. 100% sure, Sean, I understand if you did some calculations for yourself. And yeah, like I say, if you want to be sure, you're just going to have to send me the info, mate. So yeah, perfect. Mail it to me. Sean, I'm glad that you're saying thank you, no rush, you will mail it to me later. I'm most probably going to say, it's a pleasure, Sean. It's going to take me some time. Expect a reply in 2 to 3 weeks' time. It's not going to be overnight, okay? It's pretty busy these days. Why are the fees on unit trust lower in comparison to other vehicles? RC, I don't really think that the fees are lower. I think people tend to believe that it is lower. Look, if you are going to commit to an endowment where you've got a fixed period, then there is certain fees that are calculated upfront. So when you then take those fees because there's a term attached to it and you go and calculate that on a monthly basis, yes, then it's going to be more than a unit trust. But if you take an endowment which is on a flexible basis where you do not have a set time period on which fees are calculated, then the fees are going to be pretty much in line with a unit trust. Then the other thing that I think that people forget is it depends on the type of fund that you are invested in a unit trust. If you're making use of a equity type of fund, the fund fee is substantially higher than what the fund fee would be on like a bond account or stable account. So very often it happens, and I've seen it hundreds of times, that people come to me and they ask the same kind of question. And then when we go and we look at what they are referring to, then they are looking at a equity fund with 1.75% portfolio fee, and they're comparing it to a stable fund with a 0.8% fee. So it looks like there's a 1% difference, but it's because of the different risk profile. And because of the portfolios, when portfolios are on different risk categories, they can charge different fees. So overall, no, I don't think that the fees are so much lower on unit trust than what you are referring to here. And if you then really compare apples with apples, where you put a unit trust next to an endowment and you say, okay, both of them are flexible, both I'm putting in exactly the same unit trust fund, etc., then you're going to find that if there is a difference of fees, it's going to be minimal, not enough, according to me, to make it worth deciding I'd rather go into this vehicle than that vehicle because I'm saving myself 0.3%. The fact of the matter is that everybody wants to save on tax, everybody wants to save on fees. But sometimes that saving is so small, it's so minimal, that the impact is very small. And it's only over a very long period of time that you actually see a substantial impact. And what I always say to people is that, let's say that the fee that you have to pay on your investment is 3%. And you speak to somebody whose fee is 1%, you immediately think, I'm paying 2% higher fees. But if that person's return on their investment is only 7%, and your return on your investment is 12%, and there's a 5% difference in returns, and there's a 2% difference in fees, you are still outperforming that person by 3%. Then why do you worry so much about the fees? I'm not saying that one should not look at fees at all, but I think that one should be realistic when you look at the fees. Okay, let's see here. Oops, there we go again. I did it again. Pleasure Gav. Let's see what we can see here. Stefan Alistair Hope. I have 500,000 Rand at a pension, saving about 8,000 per month. I'm 34 and I'm going to be okay. Am I going to be... Okay, I have 500,000 Rand a pension, saving 8,000 Rand per month. I'm 34. I suppose it's saying, am I going to be okay at retirement? Stefan, I think I've got it right now. So Stefan, I can't tell you whether you're going to be okay at retirement. Really, I can't. Because whether you're going to be okay is going to depend on what you expect. What's your expectation when you get to retirement? So I'm not going to do a calculation now based on what you've given me. But let's assume that you end up in retirement based on your scenario with 10 million Rand. And that 10 million Rand can now give you an income, and the income varies. But let's say that you end up in retirement with an income of 60,000 Rand a month. In today's terms, you can buy the same amount of stuff then with that what you can buy today with 60,000 Rand. Then the question is, if I have to retire today, is 60,000 Rand going to be enough for me today to do what I want to do? And if that answer is yes, then yes, you're going to be okay. There's no two ways about it. But if you say, no, I actually want to have 100,000 Rand a month as an income in today's terms, then your scenario that you've created or shown me is not correct. So this is where the planning process comes in. This is where I, as a financial advisor, have to sit down with a client and say, okay, let's look at this. Stefan, this is what you're saving. This is what you're investing at the moment towards your retirement. Let's go and have a look when we project everything over the period of time until 55 or 60 or 65, depending on when you actually want to retire. And let's see what that income is going to be. And only once we've done that calculation, and we've had a bit of a discussion about what your expectations is in retirement, only then can I tell you, yes, you're going to be okay, or no, you're not going to be okay. But yeah, the fact of the matter is it differs from person to person. For you, what you are contributing here might not be enough, even though it looks quite substantial. Then you get somebody else that's contributing 1,000 Rand a month, same age as you, they've got nothing yet, and they're going to be more than happy because they've got a much lower expectation of what they need in retirement. It's all about perspective it's all about every person's perspective about what they are expecting into the future. Hope that makes sense, Stefan. Tax-free, which is better, to open an account at the bank or someone like, for instance, Alan Gray? So, Sean, my personal opinion is that I will not advise anybody to do any form of investment with a bank. I don't care if it's a tax-free or a savings account, or whatever the case might be. If you do a tax-free or savings account with the bank, it should purely be to build up an emergency fund. That amount of money that you have available for when a crisis hits and you don't want to dig into your credit card or your home loan, you have the money there, you've got peace of mind. So that's the first thing. Second thing is with regards to tax-free, if you open a tax-free investment with the bank, it depends on which division of the bank you use. If you're going to use a normal savings account of the bank, you're going to have to accept that your tax-free savings account is just going to give you the interest that the savings account gives. That's as easy as that. But if you do it via a product that they specifically create where you can once again make use of portfolios or unit trust, you're most probably going to find that you will get a better return on investment. But now this is the thing. For me, it's where you're going to get the best advice. If you walk into a bank and you talk to them about a tax-free account, you're most probably going to find that the clerical worker in that bank is going to be the person that's going to help you, and they're just going to go with a product that they know. They're not going to do proper planning for you. So I would say you would rather want to go to somebody like Allan Gray, where you work via a financial advisor that can decide or can help you with a tax-free investment, which is in line with your risk profile. And ladies and gents, just excuse me for a second. I don't know if you can see this little kitty, but she's driving me nuts. So I just need to... Sorry. It seems like she's got anxiety or separation anxiety or something. She just wants attention. And she's carrying on here underneath the chairs to the point that I can't hear or see or think for myself. Question on both endowment and unit trust. What would be a good effective annual cost? Gav, once again, a good effective annual cost, that's absolutely going to depend from person to person and what your expectation is. A good effective annual cost on a very low risk profile is most probably going to be like 2%. Where a good effective annual cost on a high risk investment where you are pursuing inflation plus 5 to 7, you're most probably going to look at 3 to 3.2%. But it's all in the eye of the beholder, I must be honest with you. Because it depends on the return that you get. That is the thing that determines at the end of the day whether you're going to be happy or not. Your cost, your effective annual cost can be 1.5%. Or 1%, can be very low. But if you only get a 7% return on investment with a 1% cost, you're not going to be happy. Because you are going to be matching inflation. Your money is not growing. You are not getting a good return. So I understand where everybody's questions are coming from in regards to cost. Because we all want the best possible product at the lowest possible cost with the best possible growth. But here's the thing. If you are looking for quality, are you going to buy yourself the top of the range BMW X6, or are you going to buy yourself the bottom of the range Chery? The bottom of the range Chery's cost is substantially lower than the top of the range BMW. But at the end of the day, the quality that the BMW gives you and the return on investment that you get from that BMW in terms of reliability, durability, the comfort it offers, the experience it gives you. At the end of the day, you're not going to mind paying the money that you pay for that BMW versus what you're going to pay for the Chery. Because you pay a very low cost, you get a very low quality product. You pay a very high premium, you get a high quality product. So in terms of cost, like I say, I understand this is something that everybody is concerned about, but really it should not be the be all and end all. You should rather be worried about the advice that you're getting. whether that advice is good advice in terms of what you should be doing with your money. That is more important, because good advice will always give you a better return on your investment than the concern about the cost. Okay, so Gav, I hope that explains it a bit. Plezier, Stefan Amater, plezier. Karusha, good evening. Let me see. We are rambling on here tonight about fees and returns and everything like that. Good evening, Rada. How are you doing? Go. And my throat is so dry. I think it's because I've had to talk so much today. Oh, okay, let's see. Who else has got something here to ask us? Two new messages. Let's see. Sorry, folks. I'm just checking here. I don't see anything yet. I'm just scrolling back to see if I've missed somebody's questions here. Encourage your viewers to share your live, invite more friends. How do you do that? I don't know. I suppose it's you guys that's on the call that I must encourage to do that, eh? Okay. Let's see. Have I missed anybody? Not so far. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Ladies and gents, I see there's no further questions so far tonight. So is this going to be an early evening for me? Am I going to be able to knock off early tonight and to go and enjoy some quality time? Oh, there we go. Just when I thought that was it, eh? Gav says, your thoughts on alternative investments such as Bitcoin. So Gav, my thoughts on alternative investments is that it's good and bad. Good in the sense that it's here to stay and it's got a place and people should absolutely consider it. Bad in the sense that I don't think that too many people have enough knowledge of it or has educated themselves enough on it. So you get a lot of people out there that think that they are experts and they advise people to jump into alternative investments left, right and center. And at the end of the day, because that person thought they were expert, but they actually didn't have too much of a clue, they then unfortunately and unwittingly help people to lose money. So for me personally, I did an exercise with Bitcoin a number of years ago, and it was just to prove a point to a bunch of younger advisors. Although I advocate that people should take higher risk in order to pursue higher growth, I will only keep to investments that I understand and that I know. So I keep to high risk portfolios such as global equity funds and normal equity funds, and I even do a couple of alternative investments such as arbitrage and livestock funds and so on. But it's all stuff that I really understand. On something like Bitcoin, I think that when Bitcoin came into life, it was very high risk, and it's proven by the graph, but lots of people made lots of money, lots of people lost lots of money. I think Bitcoin is now better understandable, and it should be easier for people to be advised on it and to invest in it. But in the meantime, after Bitcoin came in, Ethereum came in, and Doge and all those, there's so many of these cryptocurrencies that if you didn't keep up with it from day one, you're already way back again. So my thoughts, yes, I think it's good. It's here to stay. But I do think that you should investigate and educate yourself before you invest in it. Or that you will speak to somebody that really understands it before you invest in it. Okay. Eminem, but Steve Jobs on his deathbed at $5,000 car will take you from A to B, same as $500 car. I suppose you mean that's what Steve Jobs said, that a $5,000 car will take you from A to B the same as $500 car. Absolutely true. I'm not going to disagree with you, mate. I'm really not going to disagree with you. But I do know that there's something that is called peace of mind. And I will have more peace of mind if I drive in a BMW from here to Cape Town than if I get into a Chery and drive from here to Cape Town. Both cars are going to get me there. But the one is going to get me there in a lot more comfort with a lot more peace of mind than the other. So I agree with Mr. Jobs, what he said. And isn't that the thing with investments? Isn't the idea with investments to create wealth? To be able to put yourself in a situation to go and buy what you want? To be able to buy time? And by that I mean the more wealth you create, the sooner you create it. The earlier you can do what you want to do. So yes, two different cars do exactly the same thing, but there's a hell of a difference between the comfort and the peace of mind that they do it in. Fly. Let's see. What is arbitrage? Just curiosity. I'm a very old school, low risk person. Sean, I understand exactly where you're coming from. So arbitrage, this is how I normally explain it to people. If you go and you look at the dictionary definition of arbitrage, arbitrage says buying something at a set and fixed price or guaranteed price and selling it again at a guaranteed or fixed price. So arbitrage, specifically crypto arbitrage, is where a company says, okay, we need X amount of, let's call it Bitcoin. And they then can go to United States and buy that amount of Bitcoin at a fixed price. And they know they can come and sell it in South Africa again at a fixed price because they've already fixed it. And the difference between the two, the difference between the buying price and the selling price, there's going to be 2% profit in that. And that's basically arbitrage, is the guaranteed buying price, selling price, profit in between. And that is basically what arbitrage is. And what we're talking here specifically is crypto arbitrage. That's the arbitrage that we do in the company that we deal with. Oh man, your top 3 books to read for financial success. Gee whiz, hang on a second. Let me just open up. This is such a lacquer subject that I love, Jen. And you might be surprised when I give you the 3 books, because I've got a list of about 16 that I've got a very long list of books that I give to people. Let's just see. Hold on a second. I'm going to give it to you in a second. There we go. There we go. So, where is that book? The first one will be The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. The second one I would say would be The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And the third one that I would say is Rich Dad, Poor Dad by, what was his name? Who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad? I just forgot for a second. Robert Kiyosaki. So that would be the top 3, I would say. But then there is a whole list of other books that I honestly would advise people. No Excuses, The Power of Self-Discipline. If you don't have self-discipline, you will not have self-discipline in building your wealth. Atomic Habits. If you do not make small changes in your life in terms of your budget, your expenditure, whatever the case might be, you will not build wealth. The 5-second rule. Stop procrastinating and start doing things. Start educating yourself and so forth. Be Obsessed or Be Average. There is really so many books, Jen. I gladly share the books with people if they send me a WhatsApp. And this is the thing that I tell all my people as well. You don't only read the book, or does it help to only read the book? You have to really invest in a book when you read it. And the only way to invest in a book is to go and read it with attention, and then to take something out of that book, be it 1 point, 2 point, 10 points, or 20 points, that you incorporate into your life. And in that way, financial success will absolutely come. So thank you for that question, Jen. I love it when people ask questions about this, which has to do more with personal growth than just finances. Thanks, Could I have more questions? We'll share next week. Okay, Gav, fantastic, mate. Yes, Sean, I understand exactly where you're coming from. Thoughts on gold, buy or sell market? Designan, my mate, I have absolutely no thoughts on gold. Gold is resources. And you know what? Gold actually has this thing. When things are going bad in the world, when war is threatening, when there's recession, gold always soars. Everybody runs to gold because that is the be-all and end-all. That's where people find safety. And then when things are really going well and the economy starts improving or whatever the case might be, then suddenly gold is not so lacquer and then people start selling. So gold to me is one of those things. I know the absolute bare basics about when it goes up and down. But personally, I do not pay attention to gold when it comes to giving advice. Because like I said from before, I sell portfolios in unit trust. So what I rather do is I will speak to a client, and if a client says to me, listen, yeah, I'm interested in gold, then we can go and have a look at investing them in a unit trust that's a gold and mining unit trust, or a resources unit trust, or something like that. But then we can at least see what the portfolio says in terms of the risk, how to manage risk, and so forth and so forth. But yeah, I will not give anybody advice on gold, and I will not have a thought as to whether you should buy or sell. The only thing I do know is that in all my years, Kruger Rands came up every now and again as people want to buy Kruger Rands, and it's a good investment. I have not heard or seen any person that has actually made good money on Kruger Rands. And I've had clients that bought it and held it for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. I honestly have not met anybody that bought a Kruger Rand that performed so well that I felt like, I must tell all my clients to go into it. So my thought of gold, I actually come from a mining town where gold was mined, and where I actually worked on a mine for 2 or 3 months. That's not all that it's jacked up to be. Sean, you know what you are asking now, arbitrage, but it's all online. Why will prices differ, for instance, between SA and USA? That's where the technicalities comes in with regards to this stuff. And I can't even try and pretend that I know how these technical things work. All I know is that we did a due diligence in regards to the company that we use for arbitrage. We made sure that they're above board, that they've got all their licenses and everything that's there. We sat in presentations where they explained to us how they do this buying and selling. And yes, I'll have to literally go back to them and ask them to almost sit in with me one night to give an explanation. Because I know it's online, I know it's Luno's online, but there are rules again, underlying rules that governs the buying and selling of cryptocurrencies and stuff. And that's why I say it's a very technical, involved thing that I'm not even going to try and explain to you. But yes, that is how arbitrage works, and really arbitrage is it's a valuable alternative investment at this stage, if I can call it that way. There's again, rich dad, poor dad is overrated in my view. I hear what you're saying, and I think you think it's overrated because so many people always talk about it. But the book might be overrated in terms of so many people talking about it, but the principles in the book, that's the important part. The principles are true. From the time it was written until today, the principles in the book are still true. And that's what you have to look at when you read these books. It's not about whether you buy into what the oak says or whether you don't buy. It's whether the principle in the book, you actually buy into that. To give you an idea, what's the other one? There's a book called, hold on a second, I'm going to give it to you in a second. List of books. The Richest Man in Babylon. The Richest Man in Babylon, that was written by George Clason, was written 100 years ago, and it plays off in Babylon. And that book, although it's talking about people buying and selling in copper and gold pieces and donkeys and sheep and whatever, the principles, once again, is still valid until today. And it overlaps with the principles of something like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And it overlaps with something like No Excuses, the Power of Self-Discipline. But there's other books like $100 Million Offers. And there is, what's this other one that I wanted to just point out to you in a second, and I just saw it. Oh yeah, Homeless to Billionaire. All brilliant books. Not all books are going to resonate with you. That is the one thing that one must realize. But I think that once you start investing in books, investing yourself in books, you will find books that will resonate with you, and you will find stuff in those books that resonates with you. Once again, you have to be willing. You have to be willing to buy into it and to actually start implementing those principles in your life. Eminem, hold on, where did you go? Thoughts on the Luma Capital high interest rate? I think it's 30.5%. I cannot give you a thought on that. As a matter of fact, I've actually spoken to one of the directors of Luma Capital. We've said WhatsApps back and forth, chatted a bit, but we've never actually spoken about their product. I actually want to set up an appointment to talk to this guy because the 13.5%, if it is what I think it is, then I'm very scared of it. But I don't know if it is what I think it is. So I can't really give you an answer. I try and keep myself as updated as possible with as many products as possible. But just to give you an idea, in South Africa there is more than 2,000 unit trusts. So 2,000 unit trusts. Then we haven't spoken about portfolios. We haven't spoken about different money market accounts, different bond accounts, the different derivative accounts. You understand? There's just too much. You cannot be an expert on everything. So on Aluma, I cannot give you any opinion at this stage. So on 55, I can decide to withdraw from my Sanlam and still leave my Telkom to 65. Yes, absolutely, Sean, you can do so. The only limitation when you get to retirement is that if you have 3 retirements at Sanlam, for example, you have to retire from all 3 in one go. But if you've got a retirement and you do with Sanlam and one with Liberty and one with Old Mutual and then your Telkom pension fund that you're with, then you can say in 55 I'm taking one, 58 another one, 61 another one, 65. Then it's up to you how you stagger those things. So yes, you can do that. My GG, I'm on retirement. How can you minimize estate tax? I'm contributing monthly to an RA to maximize. I'm retiring. How? I'm on retirement. My GG, how can you minimize estate tax? I'm contributing monthly to a RA to maximum tax. So I suppose you're contributing to the RA to maximize your tax rebates and therefore pay less tax. So that part I can understand. Okay. Minimize estate taxes. Okay, so first of all, if you are married, then anything that you leave to your wife, there is no estate taxes payable. It only becomes payable if you and your spouse both pass away, and it then passes over to your kids. So you can't really reduce the estate tax because estate tax is set on the value of your estate. And there's rules with regard to that. What you can do is you can make sure that your investments are beneficiated so that they pay out directly to beneficiaries and therefore does not go through the estate. So then at least what happens is you do not pay executors' fees because it's not going through the estate. I actually said to the gentleman this afternoon, and we calculated that they had an estate worth 5.6 million rand, and the executors' fees is going to be more than 200,000 rand. But if they beneficiate all the investments and it all bypasses the estate, so to speak, then they bring down that 200,000 rand to 100,000 rand. So that's from an executive's point of view. Then there's things such as trust. You can create a family trust, and you can go and put your house into that trust. Any of your properties and whatever you can carry on into the trust. Then you reduce your estate in your personal capacity, and therefore your personal estate duties will be lower. Your estate taxes will be lower. Yes, it's going to cost money to move your property into a trust, and it's going to cost money to move your vehicles and other assets into a trust. But that's the one thing that you can do. You can donate 100,000 rand per year to your children. So if you've got 5 children, you could give them each 100,000 rand. No, is that right now? Yes. But yeah, and you can slowly but surely make your estate smaller. But yeah, you can't really reduce or minimize your estate taxes if you are already in retirement. There's ways and means that you can try and manage it better. That I would rather say. Make sure that there's liquidity in your estate to take care of certain things. Make sure that you've spoken to your beneficiaries on how and what, who inherits. You can do things like that. So planning your estate with your beneficiaries, I think, is a very good thing. I know that everybody always wants to draft the will, and they don't want to tell anybody what's in the will because nobody must know what's going on in my life. Man, I think it's the best thing you can do, because if you're going to leave stuff behind for other people and you hear from them what could be more beneficial to them when it comes to actual you passing away, you're doing them a much bigger favor. So, my Gigi, I know that was a bit of a fluffy answer, so to speak, but I hope you get the idea. Appreciate your time and wisdom. Thank you so much, Jen. It's only a pleasure. I'm always happy if I can be of a bit of assistance to people. And monthly contributions to TFSA. So, Gigi, what about it? 3,000 rand maximum, 36,000 rand per annum. It still all adds up to your estate, mate, because it's still your assets. Remember that your estate duty and estate taxes is based on the size of your estate. Doesn't matter what the type of asset is, the value of that estate determines the estate duties and taxes. Is there like a tick list of everything a person should have in their life? Policies, funeral, etc. Sean, no, there ain't, mate. There is definitely not a tick list for that. What you should do is you should plan for what you want. And it depends on a number of factors. It depends on your personal situation, your wants, what you want to achieve, what goals you want to reach. It depends on your personal priorities. It depends on your personal beliefs. There's a number of factors that determine this. I have had meetings with clients that said to me, listen, yeah, My family all pass away early. My family, they don't live past the age of 55 or 60. They die early. It's just one of those things. My mum died when she was 48. My dad died when he was 52. My brother passed away when he was 37. And they just have this absolute belief that there is no longevity in their family. So they don't care about making provision for retirement, and they don't do any investment for retirement, but they take out lots of life cover to make sure that their beneficiaries are looked after in the event of their death. So for that type of person, even though I would still advise them to provide for their retirement, they don't feel that they need it. So because they don't feel that they need it, you can't force them, and they are never going to have a retirement annuity. So that's why I say there's no tick list. I think it differs from person to person. There's certain basics that one can look at and say one should have life cover. You should have disability cover. You should have severe illness cover. You should have a retirement annuity. You should have a different investment like an endowment or a unit trust. You should not have debt. You should not have debt. That's a very big one. You should not have debt. So that's basics that one can maybe work around. But the tick list, no. Because if you're going to work on a tick list, mate, you're going to have a tick list longer than your arm. Sean, if you want to try and ensure that your life is in order, contact me. Let's see if we can help you to get that peace of mind that your life is in order. Or find somebody that you can trust to go and speak to them. But yeah, don't stress too much, mate. Jay, who says, "Hi, I'm not financially clever. I'm just above the breadline. However, I could spare 500 Rand a month. What can I invest in?" Jay, doesn't matter how much you earn, brother. There is a number of things. If you've got debt, start paying off your debt. Get your debt down. Cash is king. I don't care what anybody says. If you don't owe anybody money and you've got some extra bucks in the bank account, you are going to have a much better life than what you would have if you have debt. If you don't have debt, great. Then start looking at investing either into a savings account so that you build up a bit of emergency capital, or look at a unit trust, endowment, or RA. All of these investments, a tax-free plan, all of these investments can be a good investment for you. It's going to depend on your personal situation, which will be the better one for you. Okay. What happens if debts in the estate is more than the assets? Is the asset duty still payable? Oh yes, absolutely, Desmond. If the debts in the estate is more than the assets, then what happens is the assets gets sold. And the first people that get their money is the debtors and SARS. So if there is nothing left after that, then the beneficiaries walk away with nothing. But yes, the estate duty is still payable. So you will then pass away with an insolvent estate. Your assets, like I say, is then sold, and that money that is generated from the sale goes to the executor for his fees, SARS for the estate duties, the debtors for what you owe them. Beneficiaries, sorry, you stand at the back of the queue. I know people think that when they draft a will, that their beneficiaries is guaranteed of getting something. Beneficiaries actually stands fourth in the queue when it comes to the will and the estate. Can't tell you, Mutua. Nedbank core range of unit trusts for tax-free investments. I have no idea. I've never looked at it. Can't tell you. So sorry, mate. My Gigi, thank you very much. That's the thing I was wondering, Net. When you said, now that you say you can only donate 100K per annum. I couldn't remember whether it's 100K per annum or 100K per person. So I made the incorrect judgment call of saying 5 kids, 500,000. You're 100% right. So my apologies. Thank you for checking up on me. I appreciate it when people help me out. Is having a trust with properties the best way to go to leave behind and a good investment if rented. Quattro man, I've said this on a number of times in my videos and in my opinion. I am not a fan of property. I really am not a fan of property. Now I do know that there are lots of people that really do very well with property, just as there are lots of people that does very well with buying and selling of cars. There's lots of people doing very well by running a water shop or a barber shop or whatever the case might be. And every person to his own. If you know how to operate in the industry that you are in, absolutely kudos to you. But I personally am not a big fan of property. I have seen too many people over the years actually go bankrupt because of property than what I've actually seen people become wealthy. Okay. Once again, I'm not saying it can't happen. So my problem with property is if you don't buy a property cash, it's not an asset because it belongs to the bank. It only becomes an asset when it's paid off. You run the risk on only having one property of a renter not paying your place, a renter breaking down the place. You're not getting the actual rental income that you need. It's not a liquid asset. Property is not a liquid asset. You cannot decide tomorrow, listen, yeah, I've had enough of this investment, I'm going to get rid of it. You have to put it in the market, and it can take anything from 6 days to 6 years to sell the bloody property. So if you do buy properties and you could buy them cash, my honest opinion is if you can do 5 or more properties that is cash paid off, then it becomes a decent portfolio. Then it becomes worthwhile. Yes, then it's going to depend on location, the rental income, and. So in terms of properties, like with any other investment, if you do not understand and know that market, then don't get into it. Stay away from it. It is the biggest fallacy in the world that people say property is the best investment. If you do not know how to manage a property, if you do not know what to look for to go and buy the right property, it's going to be your worst nightmare. It's as easy as that. It's going to be your worst nightmare. So it is a good way to go. Properties in a trust is a good way to go if you know and understand that market and if you're willing to take that risk and then if it comes off for you. Okay. Hope that answers it for you, Quattro man. My will is on my coffee table. My Gigi, I'm glad to hear that. I just hope it's signed. I hope it's signed by witnesses. And I hope that the right person opens it in the event of you passing away. Goeienaand, Andre van Zyl. Oh, thanks, Sean. I'm glad you enjoyed. Wat sal die beste wees om jou besigheidsaandele se dividende te Wat sal die beste wees om jou besigheidsaandele se dividende te invest? Andre, daar kry ek hom nou. So Andre, ek gaan vir jou basies dieselfde sê wat ek al vir baie mense gesê het is dit hang af van persoon tot persoon en van situasie tot situasie. Daar is nie straightforward hierso is jou antwoord en dis wat jy moet doen, go for it, over and done with it. So, especially wanneer het kom by besigheidspersone, stel ek gewoonlik voor, en is ek groot voorstander daarvan, dat die finansiële adviseur, saam met die besigheidseienaar, en hulle boekhouer, of hulle CA, wat hulle boeke vir hulle audit, sit, en die 3 van hulle saam besluit. Want ek as finansiële adviseur mag miskien 'n spesifieke belegging sien as ideaal vir jou of vir jou besigheid en dan sien jou boekhouer dit nie as ideaal nie want daarso is belasting implikasies wat ek dalk nie raak gesien het of gemis het nie of ek het gedink is geld wat uit jou leningsrekening uitkom maar dit is nie geld uit jou leningsrekening uit nie. So Andre, wat ek sal sê is jy praat met jou boekhouer en finansiële adviseur, vra vir die 2 van hulle om saam met jou te praat en beplan saam. Dis die beste pad vorentoe vir jou om die beste moontlike belegging vir daai geld van jou besigheid se dividende te kry, okay? Okay. Let's see. A few years ago, it was okay to create trust. Nowadays, it's very costly and dangerous. My GG, if you run a trust correctly, it's still one of the best ways to make sure that you keep your assets protected. Yes, there's more T's and C's about how you run it and the tax and whatever the case might be. But I'm still a big fan of trust. I still believe it's one of the best ways to protect your legacy for the next generation. Webster says, Correa, is it true you must save 20% of your salary to be able to retire comfortably? Webster, I would say yes. It used to be 10%, but that was in the years when our life expectancy was mid-60s. These days, our life expectancy is late 70s or mid-80s. People still want to retire early. People still want to retire at 55 and 60 and 65. But we live longer. So yeah, absolutely. I would say 20%, definitely. If you can afford it, do it. The years of 10% is slowly but surely starting to disappear. Okay, we're almost finished here, folks. Desgana says, I'm also not a fan of property, especially with the current state of the justice system. Everybody is worried about this justice system. I keep on telling people, stop worrying about what the government is doing. You can't do anything about what government is doing. Worry about your house. Look at what you can do in your house for your family, in your business for your colleagues, in your circle of friends for them. Try and uplift those people, yourself, your family. Forget about the government. What they're going to do, they're going to do. And when it's going to start impacting you, well, then it's going to happen. Just don't worry about it. Thank you, Quattro Man. Appreciate you. 100% Matuba. I'm happy. And Jay says, really appreciate your advice and knowledge. Thank you very much, folks. I really had a lacquer session with you guys tonight. It seems like these sessions are getting more and more difficult. I think I'm educating you all too well because you're asking more difficult questions. But I'm really enjoying it. And I must say to you all, you must go and have a stunning evening. I'll see you again next week. I might be out of action again in a couple of weeks' time because I'm going to take a bit of a break. But until that happens, I'll see you on Tuesday nights. Have a wonderful evening, folks. All the best. Keep well. Bye-bye.